Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. policy toward China comes down to 3 words: invest, align, and compete.
We will invest in the foundations of our strength here at home, our competitiveness, our innovation, our democracy. We will align our efforts with our network of allies and partners, acting with common purpose and in common cause. And harnessing these 2 key assets, we'll compete with China to defend our interests and build our vision for the future. We take on this challenge with confidence.
Blinken said that Washington was not seeking conflict with Beijing and that the United States was committed to defending international law and institutions that he said China wanted to move away from.
Under President Xi, the ruling Chinese Communist Party has become more repressive at home and more aggressive abroad. We see that in how Beijing has perfected mass surveillance within China and exported that technology to more than 80 countries. How it's advancing unlawful maritime claims in the South China Sea, undermining peace and security, freedom of navigation and commerce.
As United Nations Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet visits China to assess conditions in Xinjiang, where Beijing is accused of imprisoning scores of ethnic Uyghurs, Blinken stressed that the U.S. also remains focused on Beijing's human rights abuses.
Its treatment of ethnic and religious minorities in Xinjiang and Tibet, along with many other actions, go against the core tenets of the UN Charter that Beijing constantly cites and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that all countries are meant to adhere to. Beijing's quashing of freedom in Hong Kong violates its handover commitments enshrined in a treaty deposited at the United Nations.
On Monday, President Joe Biden said the U.S. was willing to use its military to defend Taiwan, which would have been a shift from the U.S. policy of strategic ambiguity, in which officials have stopped short of making such pledges. Blinken said U.S. policy remained the same.
While our policy has not changed, what has changed is Beijing's growing coercion, like trying to cut off Taiwan's relations with countries around the world and blocking it from participating in international organizations. And Beijing has engaged in increasingly provocative rhetoric and activity, like flying PLA aircraft near Taiwan on an almost daily basis. These words and actions are deeply destabilizing. They risk miscalculation and threaten the peace and stability of the Taiwan Strait.
The Secretary of State noted the U.S. does not want to decouple from China. Instead, it wants to continue trade and investment with the Asian superpower as long as it's fair and does not jeopardize U.S. national security. Anita, Powell, VOA News, the White House.